Today on the TMZ Podcast.
Welcome to the TMZ Podcast. Derek and Eric here. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
We got some big news, and we'll start in New York because they're going to be one Seacrest shy of a full set on Live with Kelly and Ryan. Will be coming to an end, at least in its current instantiation. Ryan Seacrest announced that he's leaving the show.
Yeah, after 6 years.
6 years on the show. Now, anytime there's a breakup of a major sort of morning show institution, it's big news. We've just gone through this with Amy Roback on GMA.
Yeah.
This is big news.
Well, just on this show, just think in the last, 15 years, it used to be Regis and Kathy Lee.
Yes.
Kathy Lee was replaced by Kelly. It was Kelly and Regis. Then Regis left. It was Kelly and Michael. Michael Strahan left. Then it was Kelly and Ryan.
Yes. This is natural. There's lots of flux.
Right.
Kelly now is the institution, though.
She is.
In the beginning, it was Regis and Kathy Lee. As you said, Regis stayed, and then Kelly came in. But since Regis left, Kelly is the institution.
She's
so
the common denominator here. It's her show at this point.
So no messiness here. They're very cordial. They seem to really like each other. There's a genuine sort of affection they have. It's just that it seems like Ryan doesn't want to live in New York.
Well, I don't
he's
blame
such
him.
a consummate LA guy. Look at him.
You know, we always joke about how he's like the hardest working man in show business these days. He still does his Kiss FM morning show in Los Angeles,
which is wild.
even though he's in New York. So he's trying to record that and do Live with Kelly and Ryan, and still do American Idol, still do all of his producing stuff.
Yes. He's a busy man.
He's a very busy man, and he loves that.
He's the modern-day equivalent of Dick Clark, who just had his fingers in a lot of pots, just busy all the time. Did the New Year's show, which Ryan, I think, sees himself as the new Dick Clark.
He is the new Dick Clark. He was sort of anointed by Dick Clark because Ryan hosts Dick Clark's Rockin' New Year's Eve. It's still called that.
Right.
So yeah, he was sort of the handpicked successor to Dick Clark.
And I do think there's an element of, you look at him, he does that, he's very LA. You know, we live out here, that Kiss FM radio show is a big deal. It's strange to have someone so famous still doing a radio show that's kind of local to LA.
No, but it's you can listen to it across the country.
You can listen to it anywhere.
It
now
streams
most
everywhere.
radio shows stream everywhere, but it's an LA show.
It is.
It started as an LA show. And, he's doing the 21st season of American Idol. What's interesting to me is the timing with him selling his $51 million, I think, Beverly Hills estate here in California, and now sort of looking to come back to California. It seems like he just
it's been
lost
6 years,
a big pad.
and he said, it was originally only supposed to be 3 years.
Right.
And he's doubled that. And it's funny because remember when Michael Strahan left, there was so much contention between him and Kelly, and it was sort of surprised her that he left. This was not that. This is what Ryan actually had to say when he left.
So Kelly and I have some news here. This is something that she and I have been talking about for a long time, and it was a tough decision. Last year, we spoke, and I made the decision to make this my last season as co-host with Kel here on Live with Kelly and Ryan, which is bittersweet.
I get it. No, I mean, listen, you are a gem. You are one of my best friends. And I said, the greatest part of this entire experience has been that you've gone from being a friend to a family member.
I feel that way.
You are
I
family
feel that way
to
about
us.
both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so very, very nice.
Yeah, and make sure to call her Kel so people know they're still very casual.
Right.
I also
and called it bittersweet, which means he's reluctant to leave, but happy about the future and so forth.
His statement on Instagram, he goes, "I'll be transitioning out of Live this spring." I'm not saying I'm leaving or I quit. No, I'm transitioning out of it. It's this sort of natural thing.
This is not messy. You brought up the Strahan
Yeah,
breakup.
that was very messy.
Strahan became and is still a huge presence, but there was sort of a who's the alpha of Kelly and Michael, and it was clear to me that Michael Strahan wanted to assume the mantle of a star on television, and he has. In leaving, he's very, very charismatic. Ryan Seacrest, though hugely popular, I think always fit in better with Kelly because it was clear that it was Kelly's show and Ryan was the co-host. Ryan is more comfortable in duos. He started on American Idol with Dunkelman. Now, yes, he became much bigger than Dunkelman.
Who Kelly should hire as the new host for.
And bring in Dunkelman would be amazing.
No, it's going to be Mark Consuelos, right?
It'll be Mark Consuelos.
Is that permanent or is that just to fill in?
I don't know, but that is the person who is coming to fill the shoes for the near future, at least. What do you think of that? So I was thinking about this. Mark Consuelos is Kelly Ripa's real husband.
Right.
We just got Amy and TJ where there was romantic tension on the set and ratings were huge, but it made The Office sort of uncomfortable. I think now television execs are saying, well, let's try to thread the needle here. Maybe people like watching married couples bicker and have inside jokes.
No, I think they do, but I think because this is a married couple that's already together.
Yes.
With TJ and Amy, they had other married couples in
yes.
relationships. And so there was sort of that like cheating, whatever, and they've denied that, but there was sort of that like kind of taint to it.
Yes.
People like seeing couples and getting that sort of, they'll make little jokes about their home life and stuff. And
yes.
People love that.
Remember who the audience is here. This is like, these shows are designed for domestic people at home to enjoy in the morning while they're getting their kids ready for school. So maybe they'll enjoy sort of the banter of a husband and wife team. I mean, some have done this very successfully. What is it? Morning Joe does it with his wife, Mika.
Right.
And so it can work. I find it a little bit boring. I'll be honest with you. I like Mark Consuelos and I like Kelly Ripa, but I don't like. I want to see people entertain me and sort of. I want to see the camaraderie of people who don't just spend all of their time with each other. I'm not necessarily interested in watching another person's marriage. Are you?
Well, I mean, I don't watch those shows. I'm not the audience for it. But I think for that kind of show, that probably works for it because when you have something like with Kelly and Michael, where by the end it was very contentious and there was that tension between them. Should make for good television, but not for that kind of show.
I agree.
It made everything just seem sort of awkward, and yet they're there to just let people plug their books and things. Like the tension between the hosts is not what you go to that show for.
I agree. It'll be interesting to see if Mark Consuelos becomes a very big celebrity. He's been around for a long time. He's been a soap opera star like Kelly Ripa, but he's not the same level of celebrity. And whether he is willing to just sort of ride in the sidecar to Kelly, who runs that show.
Right.
I think he will. I think he probably knows that he's
her
like
thing.
The husband
like
attached to it.
For years it was Regis's show.
That's right.
Even it was him and Kathy Lee, and then when she left, it was definitely when it was Regis and Kelly. It was Regis's show. He was the legacy guy. When Michael Strahan came in, it was still sort of up for grabs. That's why there was that tension. By the time Ryan came, it was Kelly's show.
Yeah.
And it is definitely Kelly's show now, and Mark knows that.
Yeah. It's so interesting how the dynamic has changed. The Regis and Kathy Lee, it was Regis. He was never staid and sort of calm, but Kathy Lee was the daffy one, and then Kelly was the daffy one. And now Kelly has sort of had to become sort of the professional anchor of the show, but she's still sort of daffy by nature.
She's the one constant to it.
She's the constant. And Seacrest is sort of not, he doesn't have a flat affect, but he has a sort of more sort of hosty kind of vibe to him than a sort of wacky vibe. It'll be interesting to see what Mark Consuelos brings to the show because on their Instagram, I do follow them. I think they're kind of an interesting couple.
Okay, so you already are interested.
They're very sexually charged, which is interesting. They talk about that a lot. They talk about their kids walking in on them. That's a lot of their persona, and I don't know how that translates into morning show because it's a little saucy. It's a little saucy on Instagram. They'll have to rein that in.
But it also helps that they're both very attractive.
Very attractive.
So people maybe don't mind hearing about the two of them.
You don't like people want to hear about bumping uglies. It's bumping very pretty. It's okay.
Yeah.
One last note on Ryan is I found this interesting in our post. He's really into olive oil. Did you read that?
Yeah.
So he has, guys get into vineyards. Francis Ford Coppola bought vineyards famously in I think Santa Barbara or Napa, and he makes wine. Olive oil is very trendy. I go to like Santa Barbara, and I'm not a wine drinker, but I go to olive oil tastings. So I'm intrigued by this. I'm so into it. Yeah, they like pour it out, and they give you a loaf of bread, and you try the grassy notes of different olive oil. So he's into it.
What's interesting about that to me, though, about him going into olive oil, I mean, he's a brilliant businessman. We know that.
Sure.
But, also hosting is his thing.
Yes.
And not that Ryan Seacrest is old, but at a point, you get to where you can't do that anymore.
Yep.
And he's already setting up because he's so smart. Like, well, I'll still be probably making millions and millions of dollars off of olive oil someday.
Yeah, and he's going to be like, just whiling away the years and with olive oil trees around him. It sounds lovely. I think he's ready to transition to that phase. And New York winters are rough. And so 6 of them, he's put in his time. He's ready to go back.
Yeah, we're seeing him slow down. He's dropping one of his shows. He's only got like 15 others.
Exactly. All right, let's move to sort of more salacious news because that was an amicable breakup. What we saw, look at that segue. What we saw recently with MGK and Megan Fox was potentially a very messy breakup where Megan Fox went online,
burned all of his things and his letters,
said she tasted dishonesty on him, and they love licking each other, so she could taste everything. And there were rumors that this was donezo and ended in a very sloppy manner with maybe some cheating. The internet then went to work. They said, who could have caused this? And they invented something, it seems like.
They did, and this seems really unfair. So Sophie Lloyd is the guitar player for Machine Gun Kelly's band. She's been
beautiful.
With him not even a year yet.
Yes.
But she is very beautiful. And like all the photos of them, because,
he's young Lita Ford.
Kind of, yeah. No, if anybody gets that reference. But she wears like fishnet stockings and like bustiers and things, because that's kind of like what he wears on stage, honestly. That's just sort of the look of the band. and she's very attractive. So of course fans are immediately, it's probably her.
Yeah, they
just
sort of
speculation
like,
in the comments section on Instagram, and then suddenly she gets dragged into this, and she and her teams come out and been like, absolutely not. She's a professional. She's a musician.
she's in a relationship.
She's in a relationship with a guy she's been with for 5 years. They just posted their Valentine's love for each other on social media.
There's always been media sort of in the world of traditional media, there would always be like those whisper campaigns or hidden items in Page Six and things like that, where you couldn't stir up rumors.
No mainstream media publication would just be like, it's her,
right?
Just because she's pretty. That's the only thing she did was be pretty.
Solely because they're in proximity on a stage, the internet just said it's got to be her, and it sort of takes it on a life of its own, where she has to respond to it,
right?
Which then is going to lead to all sorts of of course she denied, of course she says she's in a relationship. Why couldn't she cheat? There's no way to sort of stop these narratives.
There's nothing. They were never photographed together other than performing, like their professional relationship, which there are other members in his band.
Now, Megan has toyed with this idea.
Well, she did. So in the original comments, when Megan was posting all the, the cryptic cheating things, just one of the people who commented said, "Oh, he probably got with Sophie." And then Megan responds, "Maybe I got with Sophie."
Oh, you're so risque.
Yeah.
This is the annoying thing about it.
Which probably also annoys Sophie. Like, I just showed up and played guitar. Leave me out of this.
Yeah. And then she's like, "Oh, maybe I hooked up." There's something annoying to me about this couple. Maybe it's that they're trying to behave so young and edgy, but they're actually they're not as old as us, but they're 32 and 36. Megan Fox has been around a long time. She had a whole marriage and kids with Brian Austin Green, and now she's just like clinging in this very needy and desperate way to me. I mean, maybe some people love this. It's off-putting in some way.
Which then, we should look.
Such an affectation with that.
She's deleted her Instagram as of now. We should look and see if the first comments about Sophie Lloyd were from like B.A. Green.
Yeah, exactly.
He loves this.
He's stayed above the fray. I never would have thought David from Beverly Hills 90210 would be like the most mature adult in the room, but he really is. He's sort of moved on with the relationship. I sort of keep up with his goings on.
I said he loves this. He probably doesn't, because they have their children, and this is all just messy, but I feel bad for the Sophie Lloyd. Like,
I do too. I mean, she's trying to make this is the first time I've heard her, so in some sense there's a interesting sort of catapult effect of now she's a name in
but it puts in people's minds that she's the other woman, even though she, by her account and most likely, did absolutely nothing. She just was a guitar player in his band.
Yes, and when she enters the zeitgeist, the first thing we think of her is this completely baseless other woman in an adulterous affair, and that's not fair. It has catapulted her into some sort of notoriety, undeserved notoriety, though, like bad press. And I think she's a musician. I don't know how talented she is, but I assume she's pretty good. She's in a band that's of some fame, and it sucks. I just feel like it sucks that now like that will sort of follow her as like, oh, was she the girl who hooked up with MGK? That's just going to be sort of a narrative that's in people's minds.
But she's not. But the good thing for her is, there's always so much drama with MGK and Megan Fox. Yes. And we know they're going to couples therapy now. They were photographed coming out of a building having therapy. So
it's the first mature thing they've done.
That's
so
true.
I can't crap
that's
on
the funny
that.
thing is, so they're so publicly outrageous. Yeah. Maybe privately they're just very like.
But they're sitting in a session with their black nails and tongue painted black, talking with a therapist in very sort of reserved tones. It's just very funny. They're an interesting couple. But what do you think is like sort of the next step for this relationship? They're in some therapy, but to me, I look at them and it looks like this relationship burns too hot. And what I mean is, it's not a relationship that can last. It's too intense. You're in a marriage. I'm in a marriage. You've got to turn the burner down.
No, I think
you can't have it on full blast.
There's two options. Either they break up and like this was just too much and it's flamed out, or reality show.
I agree.
Reality show is a smart way to go, because his music career is still really big.
Yeah,
but it could be bigger.
Yeah.
Or he could just be like, you know what, I'm bored with this, and now I'm going to move on to something else, and she would love that. So
yes, maybe they start a family, and he becomes like the shuffling Ozzy Osbourne around the house in his baggy clothes and black tongue.
I don't know.
I don't know where they sort of take this. There's the public's interest in it is still strong. I think when we see them on the red carpet, they're so outrageous that you can't really look away. I remember when Lady Gaga sort of burst onto the scene, she would do these outrageous thing, the meat dress, and Bjork was kind of like this with the swan dress.
But he's like that too. Remember he was at the American Music Awards or Billboard Awards, where he had nails coming off of every part of his suit.
Yes, and his face is cut on stage because he cracks glasses on his head.
Yeah.
But those people, Gaga, Bjork, had a second they had a lot of talent to sort of lean back on. Lady Gaga now is like a sort of polished A-list movie star almost.
Well, but, and Machine Gun Kelly's not untalented, but remember, he's already done this once because he was a rapper who got into that beef with Eminem. Yes. Eminem basically shut him down and ended his rap career.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I'm this emo rocker guy. And it was even more successful.
It's true. So maybe, I do think he's talented. I think he was a talented rapper.
I think he's savvy.
Yeah. And he's sort of playing the chess game.
Right.
And I'm still interested to see where he takes it. And Megan Fox is sort of as a cultural artifact, sort of an interesting person because she was huge for a while, then got married and had some kids.
She's kept herself relevant.
And she burst back into relevance with MGK, who's like, very savvy guy himself. So I think they will sort of last. It is interesting enough for me to watch a reality show. If they put together a reality show, I'd be interested.
Of course you would.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens next, but that'll do it for us today. We'll see you next time.